Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. This evening's discussion is going to tell the story of Bharat giving the throne to Shantanu. And remember, Bharat was the son of Sakuntala. And Sakuntala was the daughter of Menaka and Vishvamitra. Bharat became the king of Hastinapur, which is now known as Deva. And what a king he was! Even today, the land of India is called Bharat, the land where the light of wisdom always dwells. During Bharat's reign, there was peace and happiness throughout the kingdom. His rule was filled with a righteous respect for dharma. As Bharat advanced in age, one day he went to his mother and said, "Mother, I have 9 sons. Which of them should become the next king?" And Sakuntala answered, "The one most fit among them." And Bharat said, "Mother, I am having difficulty determining which among my sons is the most fit to become the king." His mother replied, "Go ask Rishi Kamba what to do." So Bharat traveled to Rishi Kamba's ashram, and bowing down to the Rishi's feet, he said, "O Rishi, you are the father of my knowledge. Be a light to me in my darkness. I am having difficulty determining which of my sons is most fit to become the king of Hastinapur as my successor." And Kamba said, "Look within. God will certainly give you the answer." Then Bharat went into the forest and began to meditate. After some time of deep meditation, he became illuminated and he returned to his kingdom in Hastinapur. Calling an assembly of all the vassal kings, all the noblemen, the rishis, gurus, and brahmins of his kingdom, he wisely proclaimed the discovery of his knowledge. A king has 3 duties to his people: the administration of law and justice, the protection of his people, and the preparation and appointment of a fit successor. By God's grace, my kingdom has been prosperous, it has been safe, and the rule of justice has prevailed. My first duties as a king have been fulfilled. Now, as for my third duty, to appoint a fit successor, I have decided that none of my 9 sons are appropriately fit. And therefore, in Bharadwaja's ashram, there is a young man named Shantanu. I have seen in a vision that he will be the next king. Having received Brahma's curse, Maha Bisha had been reborn as Shantanu. And Shantanu was brought from the Muni's ashram and was crowned prince regent and heir to the throne of Hastinapur. When Bharat left his body, Shantanu became king, and he began to reign in Hastinapur and to conduct the administration of justice and order. He was a great warrior, and without difficulty, was able to protect the frontiers of his kingdom. Shantanu marries Ganga. Remember, Ganga and Maha Bisha were cursed to come down to earth because they were having a relationship in heaven. One day, Shantanu went hunting into the forest, and as he rode in his chariot along the river Ganga, out from this river Ganga rose a most beautiful woman, the divine Ganga herself. Shantanu looked at Ganga, but he could not remember their former love affair. He became mesmerized by her lovely radiance. Ganga looked at Shantanu and recognized recognized him as Maha Bisha, and even in his present body. Shantanu said, "Oh, beautiful one, my heart is filled with love. I don't know what has inspired this, but please become my wife." Ganga replied, "King, I would love to become your wife, but only if you accept one condition." Shantanu requested, "Oh, lovely, beloved of my heart, give me any conditions you like. I will accept any condition if you will only consent to be my wife." Ganga said, "At first you must hear my condition and make me a promise that you will fulfill it, and then I will agree to marry you." Shantanu said, "You have only to ask." Then Ganga said, "Oh, whatever I like to do, I will do, and you will never stop me. The day you stop or question me, or in any way put any impediment or obstacle to my performing exactly as I see fit, that day I will leave you immediately." And Shantanu said, "My beloved, there is nothing that you could want to do for which I would have any hesitation. You have stolen my heart. I agree you can do anything that you like. I surrender to you completely." Shantanu and Ganga were married, and Shantanu became lost in the bliss of lovemaking. He would make love to Ganga all the time, and she responded with the most sensuous, gracious acceptance. They had the most beautiful relationship, and Ganga became pregnant. The king was overwhelmed with joy. Performing the prenatal ceremonies, he fed all the people of his kingdom and gave tremendous dakshinas to the Brahmins. Everyone gave their blessings. When the child was born, the king's heart leapt with joy. The maidservants from Ganga, his queen, came to the king and cried, "Vidai, O Vinandana! Greetings, O king! A son has been born unto you this day. Congratulations." And then the king looked out from his window and he saw Ganga carrying the son, the newborn infant, to the riverbank. She threw the child into the raging waters, and the child drowned. The king stared on in disbelief. "Evil woman, you killed my son," he thought. And yet he did not say a word. After some time, Ganga became pregnant again. The king was filled with joy, an heir to the throne. After the child took birth, he watched Ganga take that newborn baby as well, carry it down to the bank of the river Ganga, and dropped it into the waters to watch it drown. The king's heart broke into two. And so it transpired with the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and the seventh child. Each time he watched as his beloved wife took the infant child, the heir to the throne, his own flesh and blood, to drown the child in the waters of the river Ganga. The king stared on in disbelief. The 7 Vashus had already been freed from their curse of human birth as Vashishta allowed them when the 8th son was born. When the 8th son, Vyasa, was born, and the king looked out of the window to see Ganga taking this son to the bank of the river to receive the same fate as his brothers, his heart could bear it no longer. He ran to the river and jumped in front of her and said, "Stop! You can't do this. You have killed all my 7 sons. What did they do to you? What are you doing, you evil woman? You are destroying my entire family. Stop this madness." And Ganga said, "Now, king, you have broken broken your vow. You promised never to question me or to stop me from what I want to do, and therefore I'm leaving you. I will take this son with me and nurture him in the forest. When he has grown up strong and independent, I will give him back to you. For now, he requires his mother's love and nurturing. But just so you may know, the 8 Vashus had been cursed by Vashishta Muni that they must take birth on this earth. 7 of them were granted the boon that their sojourn would be completed within 1 year. As per our agreement, those 7 Vashus have gone back to heaven by my actions. And now this last child is yours. He will be known as Ganga. He was born from Ganga. Also, we will call him Deva, vow of the gods. After you take your child again, I shall return to my heavenly abode. King, remember your curses, Maha Bisha. You must remain here to fulfill your karma. Suddenly, Shantanu was stunned into recollection. His mind became lost in memory so distant, and he disdained to think of the promise he had broken with his wife Ganga. Even as he thought of his own loss and his attachment to his sons who had gone and to his wife who was going, he also recalled his friendship with the gods and of their plight at being cursed to come to earth. He gazed at Ganga in silence and watched as she disappeared into the wilderness along with her baby. Ganga took that child into the forest and taught her son how to be a king. The child grew up strong and healthy and knowledgeable, having studied with the finest gurus available. He learned weaponry from Purana. He studied the scriptures with Vishvamitra, the guru of the gods himself. Ganga saw to his health and wealth and education as no earthly mother could possibly do. Deva later became known as Bhishma, the protector of the lunar dynasty, the regent of Hastinapur. The birth of Matsyagandha. Many years ago in the kingdom of Chedi, there reigned a king by the name of King Uparicha. He had a very beautiful wife whose name was Girika, which means of the mountains. Girika was such a radiant beauty filled with devotion, and she loved her husband very, very much. He, too, always thought of her. One time, Girika finished her menstruation period, and after she took her bath, she was filled with desire. She went to her husband, the king, and said, "Husband, I would like to have a child." Her husband replied, "Wife, I would love nothing better than to give you a child right now, but I have some other important function to perform that cannot wait. We are required to offer a memorial ceremony in honor of my departed ancestors, which necessitates certain types of meat to be offered in sacrifice." Remember, these are kings. "I am going to the forest to hunt. I must fulfill this myself because the sacrifice is to honor my ancestors. This is the order from our guru." Girika allowed him to go, and she kept her patience. The king went into the forest hunting. After some time, he got tired from riding on his horse, and he sat down under a tree to take rest. He started to think of the wonderful love that he shared with Girika, and his heart opened up, and he was so full of love. He thought, how wonderful it is to have a wife come to me filled with love and desire. Everyone in this universe desires to be desired. When other people love us and desire us, we ourselves feel a greater strength and security. Then we can direct that energy into any noble pursuit. How blessed am I with such a love. As he sat there under the tree thinking of his wife, he became excited and he dropped his semen. Then he thought, oh my, I have lost all control in the contemplation of my beloved. Well, this semen should not be wasted. It should not go without bearing fruit. He picked up the semen and put it on a leaf. He folded the leaf and called the falcon and said, oh dear falcon, please bring this semen to my wife Girika. She is thinking of me, and I want her to know that I too am thinking of her. She wanted to have a child. Enclosed within this leaf is the child that she desired, so bring it to her forthwith. Obedient to the king's command, the falcon put the leaf in his beak and rose up into the sky. He started to fly towards the kingdom of Chedi, towards the palace of the king Uparichar, where his wife Girika was thinking about her husband. In the course of his flight, another falcon spotted him and thought, what precious trophy does that falcon have in his beak? I want my share too. A fight ensued in the middle of the air. The one falcon started to peck at the messenger with such great zeal that he overturned the messenger falcon. The leaf fell from his mouth and it fell right into the Jamuna River. Then the both falcons, realizing that their trophy was lost, gave up the fight and flew off in their separate directions. A beautiful Apsara named Adrika came down to the earth one fine, beautiful spring day, and she decided to bathe in the Jamuna River. She started to swim and to splash and to frolic. She danced with the flowers and bathed in the sun and jumped into the water and splashed, having such a wonderful time. Sitting on the bank of the river was the angry Rishi Durvasha. He was performing his Sandhya Bandhana, his daily prayers, and he was making japa. As he made japa, Adrika, the Apsara, became filled with love and joy, swam over and playfully grabbed hold of his feet. The Rishi woke up from his meditation with a start and angrily said, what kind of a lady are you to interrupt my meditation? Don't you know I am the Rishi Durvasha? Dur means bad, foul, and Vasha means language. The guy with a bad mouth. He bad mouths everybody. No one can stand before my anger. You have a lot of nerve to interrupt my puja and my meditation, swimming around the river like a fish. I curse you. Become a fish. Adrika, the poor Apsara, started to cry. Oh, Rishi, I didn't mean any harm to you. Why would you do such a thing as to curse me and make me into a fish? I am an Apsara, a beautiful servant of the gods. I'm not a fish. Rishi, be compassionate. Compassion is the grace of the Brahmins. Please tell me, how can I be freed from this curse? Durvasha looked at the young lady who was radiant with beauty, Adrika, and he said, this fish will give birth to 2 human children, and then you can go back to hell. Adrika, the Apsara, looked incredulous. What? How can a fish give birth to a human? Not to speak of 1 human, but to 2 humans? The Rishi Durvasha said, so it has been spoken, so it shall be a fish. The Apsara was immediately turned into a fish. Really, it wasn't so bad. She even began to enjoy being a fish. She would swim along the banks of the Jamuna River and listen to the mantras being chanted by the holy men who sat there. She began to frolic in the holy waters of the river. One day, as she was swimming around, she spied a strange-looking leaf. This leaf is not from a forest around here, she thought, as she picked up the leaf in her mouth. Suddenly, she swallowed it and became pregnant with the semen of the king of Chedi. As the days went on, her belly got bigger and bigger and bigger. Finally, she had trouble moving around in the water. She grew larger and larger so that she couldn't swim as fast as she used to, being in that pregnant condition. One day, a fisherman cast his net into the river Jamuna, and Udrika, the fish, was powerless to swim away. The fisherman hauled in the net and found this huge, beautiful fish. He took the fish home, cut open its belly, and was amazed by what he saw. Inside the womb of the fish, he found 2 human children. One was a boy and the other was a girl. The fisherman thought, I have been fishing in these waters all my life, but I have never seen or heard of anything like this in the history of fishing. Meanwhile, the Apsara, Udrika, was freed from her curse and she returned to heaven. The fisherman performed the natal samskars, holding a great feast, gave dakshinas of gifts to the Brahmins, and welcomed the children to their new life on earth. Then he thought, what shall I do with these children? This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen or heard of in my life. I would like to keep the boy who is such a beautiful and noble child, but this baby girl smells so bad, like a horribly rotting fish. I would like to throw her back into the waters because I can't stand the smell. Just then, a voice called in rumbling clouds from heaven above, Fisherman Dashraj, do not throw this child away. Her son is destined to be a king. What? Cried the fisherman. The son of this foul-smelling girl will be a king? Then I shall take these children to the king. The fisherman took the 2 children to the king Uparichara, the king of Chedi, and said, O king, the most amazing thing in my entire career of fishing in the Jamuna River happened today. I never saw or heard of anything like it in my life. I caught a fish, the biggest fish I ever saw, and when I cut open the belly of the fish, I found these 2 human children, a boy and a girl. The king looked at the 2 children with astonishment and said, this girl smells like a fish, so let's call her Matsya Ganga, she who smells like a fish. Nice name. Stinky. The boy is really beautiful and handsome. He looks like the son of a king. I will take the boy and raise him myself, and we will call him Matsya Raj, the king of the fish. Fisherman, you take the girl back with you and raise her as your daughter. I will keep the son here with me and raise him as my son. And that's just what happened. Matsya Raj grew up in the palace of the king, and Matsya Ganga became the daughter of the fisherman. Matsya Ganga grew into a fine young lady. She had the most radiant beauty, but no one could get near her because she smelled like a fish. When she grew up, she became a great help to her father. She would help him mend the fishing nets and would help him row their boat. She would help him cook the food and help him to clean, and she became so filled with devotion, Matsya Ganga grew into a radiantly beautiful girl. The birth of Veda Vyasa. One day, the Muni Parasa came to the bank of the Jamuna River and said, "Fisherman, would you please ferry me across the river?" And the fisherman replied, "I'm sorry, but I'm busy right now. Please excuse me, Muni. I can't leave what I am doing at this time. If you can stand the smell, my daughter Matsyagandha will take you across the river." The Muni said, "I'm in a hurry to cross the river. It doesn't matter who rows the boat. Let your daughter come to take me across the river." So the fisherman called his daughter Matsyagandha. "Please take this Muni Parasar across the river." Matsyagandha came and sat down in the boat, and the Muni sat down in the boat across from her while Matsyagandha started to paddle. As she was paddling across the river, suddenly the Muni looked at her and said, "My dear young lady, I have this strange feeling of attraction to you. I feel compelled to make love with you right now." Matsyagandha was incredulous. "How can you say that? I smell so bad, like a rotting fish." And Parasa replied, "Well, that can be changed very easily. Through my yogic power and through my mantra siddhi, I endow you with beautiful fragrance. Your fragrance will be so captivating that all animals for miles around will want to come just to smell you." And he did. Suddenly, Matsyagandha emitted the most beautiful, enticing fragrance which captivated all of life. He said, "Now, let us make love. I can't explain why I have this feeling. I am a self-controlled rishi from the forest, a seasoned sadhu having performed great austerities of renunciation. I can't explain why, but I just have this terribly wonderful urge to make love to you right now." Matsyagandha said, "But Muni, Rishi, you can't make love in a boat. You don't even know how to swim. What would we do if the boat tipped over while you are making love? How will we get to the shore? Control yourself. At least wait until we get to the other side." The Muni said, "All right, but I understand that I am a Muni. I have controlled my passions. There is some other reason that I am feeling these feelings. There must be some divine fate that is causing me to feel like this. I will wait until we get to the other side." Matsyagandha paddled to the other side, and the Muni said, "Come quickly, let us make love." Realizing that there was no escape from the Muni's passion, Matsyagandha said, "But Muni, it is daytime, and here we are on the bank of the river. Anyone coming down the path or by the river can see what we are doing. I will be greatly despised if we do this thing in public. My reputation will be ruined." Then the Muni said a mantra, and using his yogic power, he made it become night. He made clouds appear low in the sky, and then he said, "There, now it's dark and we are covered by fog. No one can see what we're doing." And Matsyagandha knew there was no escape, so she said, "Muni, I am asking that you give me 3 boons for participating with you in this. The first is that my father will not know about this, and that my virginity will not be lost. The second is that the son born from our union will be powerful like you and intelligent, a knower of the Vedas. And my third wish is that I will always have this beautiful smell and this enticing, youthful beauty." And Parasar said, "I grant you these 3 wishes. Your son will collect all the Vedas and classify them. He will be the author of all the Puranas, a repository of wisdom and knowledge, and he will be the chief expositor of the Sanatana Dharma." And so the Muni lay down and had intercourse with Matsya Ganga. And when they were done, he went into the river, washed, and then departed into the forest. She became pregnant. Matsya Ganga began to get bigger and bigger and bigger. She went into her boat and paddled out onto a lonely island in the middle of the Jamuna River. On this deserted island, she gave birth to her baby son. But as soon as the child came out of her womb, he started to grow. And he grew and he grew and he grew into a full-sized man. And then he said, "Mother, pranam. I bow to you. I'm going off into the forest to practice tapasya. Thank you very much for being the vehicle of my entry into this earth plane. I have much karma to do, so I won't have much time to stay here to assist you. Thank you very much for giving me birth. Please remember me at any time you are in difficulties, and as soon as you remember me, I will come to do whatever you ask. But I have much karma to do now, so please take a bath and go home. I'm going to perform my tapasya." Matsya Ganga was quite amazed at this, and she said, "I bless you, my son. Let your tapasya be fulfilled." Because he was born on the Dweep, on the island, his name was Dwaipayan. And because he was of darker complexion, his name was Krishna. So his name was Krishna Dwaipayan, otherwise known as Vyasa. Let's talk about the wisdom of Vyasa. Well, this is a little long. Well, let's do it anyway. Matsya Ganga returned to the fisherman's home. When she returned, her father noticed the beautiful scent. Where is that scent coming from, he thought. As Matsya Ganga came in through the door, he realized it was she who was emitting this fragrance, and he knew that it was the blessing of the Rishi. He hugged his Matsya Ganga and blessed her, and he thanked the Rishi Parasar for having blessed his daughter with that beautiful fragrance. Then the fisherman lived very happily with his daughter Satyavati. Vyasa wandered off to the Saraswati River. Actually, just outside of Pushkar, on the banks of the Saraswati River, is Vyasa's ashram where he did tapasya. And then began to perform tapasya. He studied the Vedas and divided all the Vedas into various sections and classified them into 4 types of wisdom. The Rig Veda is the wisdom of hymns. The Yajur Veda is the wisdom of sacrifice. Atharva Veda is the wisdom of the definitions of harmony. And the Sama Veda is the wisdom of song. He collected from each of the 4 Vedas a tattva, or basic principle, 4 principles which express the essence of the Vedas. From Rig Veda came forth the principle Prajnanam Brahma. The wisdom of nature is supreme divinity. From Yajur Veda came forth the principle Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. From Atharva Veda came forth the principle Ayam Atma Brahma. This individual soul is the supreme divinity. And from the Sama Veda, Aham Brahmashmi. I am the supreme divinity. Taken together, these 4 principles make a very beautiful poem. Prajnanam Brahma Tattvamasi. Ayam Atma Brahma Aham Brahmashmi. In various ways, Vyasa classified all the wisdom of non-duality and became the chief expounder of the Sanatana Dharma. Many years passed. The birth of Shuka. One day, Vyasa was preparing to light the yajna fire. The yajna fire is traditionally established by rubbing 2 sticks together. One stick is laid down horizontally called oroni, and a pointed stick is placed into the notch called the mantandanda. Then one can rub the mantandanda into the arani back and forth until the friction of the two sticks together will cause a spark of fire, and that is how we give birth to a sacred fire. Maybe some of you saw the origin of this fire, which has been burning for a couple of years now. One day, Vyasa was sitting by his home of Kund, chanting the mantras and rubbing the arani by means of the mantandanda. And just over his head there came a very beautiful apsara by the name of Gritachi. Gritachi looked down at this beautiful hermit and became filled with passion and love. Vyasa looked up and saw this beautiful young lady filled with passion and love, and he too was struck with the arrows of love. He became passionate, and then he got angry and said, I'm not supposed to be passionate. I'm supposed to be enkindling the divine fire. He kept rubbing the sticks and chanting the mantras and felt himself becoming even more angry. He knew he was feeling passion inside, and therefore he was growing more and more angry. Gritachi got scared when she saw his anger, and she turned herself into a Shuka bird. That's a parrot. Oh, a parrot. And started to fly away. And just at that time, Vyasa got so excited he dropped his semen. The semen landed right on the two sticks, and when the semen touched the place where the mantandanda was rubbing against the arani, a spark of fire shot up into the air, out of which came Deva. He bowed down and said, "Oh, Father, namaste. I bow to you. Thank you and thank you again for bringing me into manifestation. Now, tell me what I am to do." Vyasa looked at his beautiful son and hugged him and surrounded him with all his love, holding him close to his breast. "My son, I am so pleased. I have a son. It is written in our scriptures that a man cannot attain heaven unless he has a son to pass down his wisdom to, and to perform his funeral rites for him after he leaves. And now my life is fulfilled." Vyasa called all the Brahmins and performed the birth ceremonies. He performed the first feeding and the naming ceremonies and said, "Son, you came when I saw the Shuka bird. I shall call you Deva, the god of parrots," also meaning the god of subtle light or radiance. Vyasa performed all the religious ceremonies and rites of passage, all the samskaras prescribed by the Sanatana Dharma. He taught the child the wisdom of the Vedas, invested upon him a sacred thread, and said, "Son, now the next step in the life of a Brahmin is to live with your guru, serve the guru, and learn as much as you can. Please, when your learning is complete, come back to me. I am sending you to your guru's house." And Deva was sent to Guru Brihashpati's house, where he studied for 12 years. He memorized all the Vedas along with the explanatory texts and commentaries available, and when he was finished, he knew all the traditions of yoga and pranayama. He knew how to meditate and how to keep his senses under control. He was in every way a pillar of the Sanatana Dharma, the ideal of perfection in universal wisdom and harmony. After the prescribed period of study was completed, one day Brihashpati came to Deva and said, "My son, you have learned as much as I can teach you. Give me my dakshina and go back to your father's house. You can't learn any more here." Deva gave the dakshina to his guru and bowed down to his lotus feet. Now he was a man, and he returned to his father's ashram on the banks of the Saraswati River. When Vyasa saw Deva coming towards the ashram, he dropped everything and ran outside to greet him. He grabbed his son and kissed his head and hugged him and kissed him again and held him close. He was so glad to have him back. My son, you have come home. And let's stop here and we'll see if there are any questions. Please, Gauri.
Swamiji, some of, from the stories obviously, so the rishis also have desires, or the desires come, but in the stories, they all have these wonderful results. How do we, and when we're told not to indulge in the desires because it takes us away from our goals, how do we, how does that relate to us, the stories where their desires?
Remember, Shiva got the boon that he would be the only one free from Mohini. All the rest of us, when we see Mohini, we are thrust into the ignorance of duality and egotistical attachment. So Shiva got the boon. Now, these rishis who are seers, they don't have the boon as Shiva has, but they see the ultimate objective and they see the path to that objective. And even if they don't understand it or cannot express it intellectually, they know inside, through a priori knowledge, through meditation, through intuition, that this is a right action. Now, when you become in tune and know in your heart, this is a right action, you're supporting Dharma. You're not in derogation of Dharma. When you're empowered, as Parasar was empowered to give blessings and boons and to give birth to the expositor of the Sanatana Dharma, then he knew intuitively this is the right thing to do. When you have that kind of discrimination, Gauri, I'll set you loose on all the bars and discos in San Francisco. Until then, you stay in the ashram where I have my eye on you. All of us, when we have that kind of discrimination, that kind of awareness, that kind of capacity to understand intuitively, what is my Dharma? What is the highest reality that I can manifest? Here, Vyasa wasn't aware intellectually, but when Sukdev came out, and you'll read more about this, the story of Sukdev is going to be quite interesting. He'll explain more about this very subject himself. Are there other questions?
Yes, Swamiji, there's a question from Nanda from San Jose.
Namaste, Nandama.
Namaste, Swamiji. I remember that you had mentioned that there are several Veda Vyasas. Is Krishna Dvaipayana the most famous one? Thank you.
Yes, he is the most famous one. He is Krishna Dvaipayan, the son of Matsya Ganda, the son of Satyavati. Matsya Ganda became Satyavati when Parasara gave her all the boons. So then he is the most famous one. However, Vyasa is a tradition, just like Vashishta is a tradition. So there were 161 kings in the Solar dynasty, and the chief priest for every king was Vashishta. Actually, Vyasa literally means author of 1,000 verses. And there were many times when I would sit in at least a village temple in India, and I would be expounding on some scripture, and people would say, Vyasji. So it was a title of respect, because I was an expounder of the scriptures. So the Pandit or Purohit, or the person who expounds on the scriptures, explains the scriptures, is called Vyasji or Panditji or Muniji, or various epithets which depict the respect that the devotees have for the person who conveys knowledge. So now Vyasa has become a generic term. But Krishna Dvaipayan is the famous Veda Vyasa. But if you look at it logically, which I'm not asking you to do, but it's really, I mean, I've written a lot of verses, but to classify and write down the 4 Vedas with all their angas, and then to write 18 Puranas espousing 18 different points of view, and to be an author of the Mahabharata, and to expound and write down the Devi Bhagavatam, that's a lot of writing for a guy to do, even if he had as many computers as I do. And I got a collection. So it's probably more in the vein of tradition that the author of all of those scriptures was named Vyasa. Just like we could easily say instead of Swami Purana, Vyasa's Purana. Because some guy wrote it down in the same tradition.
Swamiji, there's a question from Rolf from Mountain View.
Namaste, Rolf.
There are many allegories in the Puranas. What are the best ways for us to discover their meanings?
Put yourself in the same position and understand the names of the characters. Knowing the names of the characters and what is their relationship to each other, and then what sadhana you are doing, and how can you bring that into attunement or at-one-ment with the sadhana that they were performing. Rolf, I think that's the best way to understand the allegory. How can you take the good things that we're seeing, the love from the king to his queen, the relationship, the joy of Veda Vyasa hugging his son, for taking his young son and sending him off for education and hugging him so dearly when he came back. Each one of these stories gives us some information that we can implement into our own disciplines. And I beg you all to please find something every night that you could change in your own discipline that would make you closer in alignment with the stories so you become the main character.
Swamiji, there's a question from Michael from Colorado.
Namaste, Michael. Namaste, Karen.
Swamiji, 12 years of study with one's guru seems to be the standard of time for students. Can you please explain?
Yes, it was a tradition. It was a tradition to divide the life actually into 4 parts. So if a Brahmin boy takes Upanayan, the initiation with the sacred thread at the age of 8, and he studies with his guru for 12 years, he will be 20 years old when he returns. That's the sum of Artha. Then he gets married and he leads a married life and he makes a contribution to society and he makes this world a better place because he had come here and he engenders his children, he nourishes his family, he saves something for his retirement, and that takes him 20 years. And then he's 40, and he's ready to become a banaprastha, 1 foot in the house, 1 foot outside the house. And he takes a little vacation, and he gives the kids management responsibilities, and he goes away for a little bit, and he comes back, and he says, oh, the store's still here. And then he goes away for a little longer, and he comes back and he says, "Oh, yeah, well, you can fix that, you can change that. You gotta paint the barn. You gotta take out the grass and all the old dead trees." And then that takes him 20 years of Banaprastha, and now he's about 60 years, and one day he wanders off and he doesn't come back. And sannyas. So the 12-year period is a traditional period of being a disciple to a guru. And then in that 12 years, there's a harmony of knowledge. You get to learn all the things, both practical and idealistic, of how you're going to make your contribution to this world, what your goals will be, what will be your inclination, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live. And within those 12 years, you prepare yourself to make that contribution. Oh, many, many disciples have spent beautiful 12 years with their gurus.
Swamiji, I have a question.
Certainly.
The tattvas are described on page 255,
Yes.
Swamiji.
Yes.
The first tattva is from the Rig Veda, and it says Prajnanam Brahma.
Yes.
So pra is prakriti or nature,
Yes.
and jnanam is wisdom. So you have translated it as the wisdom of nature is supreme divinity.
Yes.
Now, it appears to me one interpretation of that is that we can learn everything that we need from nature, because nature and God are one. Yet we, in our modern day lives, we use so much technology and we use so many things that don't really belong to nature. So how would you reconcile those two paradigms, Swamiji?
Well, certainly you can see the harmony of nature. And you can see that nature is acting according to its nature because that's its nature. Nature is not striking out with anger or violence. Nature is just growing. And the natural evolution of the nature is a continuous harmony. Even though the larger tree will say, hey, little shrimp, you can't stay here. Move your root. Huh? They will. And the king of the jungle, the lions, I remember the jackal went to the lion and said, hey, we're all God's children. We're all made equal. And we're all equal in the forest. And the lion said, show me your claws. But there's a harmony in that nature. Or man is the only one who eats when he's not hungry, kills out of season, and copulates at any time. The Prajnanam Brahma went as far as away we get from the nature, so much do we lose our natural abilities, our natural capacity. The closer we come to the nature, the simpler we become, and the easier life becomes. We stop fighting life, and we see how do we create a harmony and flow with life instead. And that's the wisdom of nature. How to flow with life instead of fight with life. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Do we have any other questions?
We have a couple of questions, Swamiji.
Well, let's try them.
Okay, Swamiji. The first one is again from Nanda San Jose.
Yes, Nandama.
And she says, Swamiji, how can we explain that a rishi like Parashara lost control of himself? What happens to a sadhak who is diligently striving but loses control even momentarily? Does he lose all the merits that he has accumulated? Please help us understand.
He does not lose all the merits because he still knows how to get back on the path. The most important thing for a sadhu or sadhika is to know how to get back on the path, because we will fall, we will stumble, we will stub our toes. However, when we do fall, if we know where to go to get inspiration or a kick in the pants, then we're 90% saved. Because no matter how low we fall, there's always somebody there to inspire us to say, pick us up and dust us off and put us back on the path and give us a push and say, go back to work. It's not okay you fell. Self-conceit and self-deprecation are omnipresent, and they will come in the most devious ways, Nandama. And so what? If we fall, we're looking for forgiveness for others and for ourselves. And now let's get back to work. We know the sadhana. You didn't forget all your Sanskrit because you fell. You didn't forget the puja because you fell. You didn't forget your asan because you fell. Now, in the case of Parasar, he had a special inclination, a special understanding that through Matsya Ganda, he was supposed to engender a great being of this society. And absolutely, I am so proud and pleased of Parasar for falling in the way he did, because that's what gave us all these books of wisdom and all this knowledge, and all the Vedas were saved because of Parasar. If he didn't fall that day, we would be dummies. So you look at it as, from the point of view of his falling, I really respect him and appreciate him and say, guy, if I fell for you, would you? Other questions?
We can take them tomorrow.
Okay, well, we'll continue tomorrow with a very, very, very fun discussion, the discussion on marriage. And it's a conversation between Veda, Vyasa, and Shuka. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste.